What's going on, people? I'm walking right now outside of the job. It's a beautiful day. A little windy though, but just wanted to share some things with you, some things that I'm thinking about right now, and I want to talk to you about having balance in your life, in all areas of your life. And in order to have balance, there must be a steady foundation, right? If you try to balance something on an uneven surface, then that thing's going to topple one way or the other, depending on which side is heaviest. When you have a scale, one side will lean more than the other if it has more weight. So in life, we have to be mindful of how much weight we apply to different things, and we have to have balance, particularly in our relationships, finances, our spiritual life, really every area of our life, to be quite honest with you. And I want to talk to you about just a number of things. When we talk about relationships, in relationships there must be the law of reciprocity has to be active, right? It has to be active, and in all facets it has to be active. But dealing with the relationship aspect, a lot of people are concerned that in a relationship they're giving too much. But it's important to know and understand that the receiving is just as important as the giving. And I'm not talking about receiving in the way of, this person is giving out so much emotionally and mentally into this relationship, but the other person is simply receiving everything. I'm not talking about receiving from a selfish standpoint. I'm talking about the idea of receiving from a gratuitous standpoint, with the mind of gratitude. Because when you receive with a grateful heart, then the giving will naturally flow back out of you to the other person, and there you will have balance in the relationship. So it's important to understand that to receive properly is just as important as it is to give in the relationship. We must receive with a grateful heart. We must receive the blessings of Yahweh with a grateful heart, which will then in turn produce obedience within us. For instance, take a marriage. A lot of times what happens is people get married for a lot of different reasons. But the idea of marriage is such a weighty thing, because the two individuals getting married must be secure within themselves. A woman must be secure within herself and her relationship with Yahweh if she's going to effectively submit to her husband in all things, right? The idea of submission to many people today, particularly women, is a tough thing to accept. I'm my own woman. I can take care of myself. I got a good job. A woman who has children already, she feels I don't need a man to help raise my kids. He's my husband, but this is my child. And so it's important to understand that she must be secure within herself and her relationship with Yahweh if she's going to effectively submit to her husband in all things. And a man, if he's going to be a servant leader of his home, just as Yeshua was a servant leader to his people and to us in giving himself as a sacrifice, he must be secure in himself and have no fear of being, overrun by his wife, and she's going to take advantage of me. He must be secure that I'm going to serve my family. I'm going to walk in the authority of Yahweh. And I'm going to allow him to establish me as the authority of this home, and not from a carnal standpoint. I'm a man. This is my house. I handle things like a man. What is a man? Is that mentality of Yahweh? Is it something that he condones, or does he want us to submit unto him? It says that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is a man. And again, not every man over every woman, but dealing with the husband and wife dynamic. So the law of reciprocity has to be there. The wife has to be willing to submit to the authority of her husband, and the husband has to be willing to submit to the authority of Christ, thereby creating that flow, right? That circular flow of him, being a servant leader because he is a servant of Christ, and her being submissive to him as he is a servant leader under Christ. So there must be that give and take. She must be willing to receive that authority from him, and he must be willing to receive that submission from her, and not try to use that to be demanding and overbearing. So it's important, beloved, that there's reciprocity. Same thing with friendships. If there's too much giving and not enough receiving, or too much receiving and not enough giving, then relationships break down. Same thing with your finances. If you are paying out too much, more than what you're taking in, there's an imbalance there. We must have balance in our lives if we're going to be effective witnesses for Christ. We must have balance in our lives if we're going to live effective lives. So it's important to understand that we have to, submit to the will of Yahweh in all things, because when we do that, we allow for His wisdom, for His direction, for His guidance, to direct our steps, to lead us in the way of righteousness, so that our relationships can grow. He hasn't promised us that everyone is going to be financially wealthy or millionaires. But guess what? If you follow what I'm saying to you, and you have balance in your finances and balance in, the time that you spend in recreation and in business and in life, then what you find is that He says He gives the power to get wealth. That power comes through wisdom. It comes through understanding stewardship, right? So, as I'm speaking to you, I'm speaking to myself, and these are just things that that are on my mind right now, and I'm thinking about just the balance, or lack thereof, in my own life. So, I just want to share this with y'all, and just say, listen, when you find yourself in the daily business of life, ask yourself, am I living a balanced life? Am I spending too much time doing nothing? Am I spending, and when I say nothing, I mean, just typical things you do. Men, we like to watch sports. Some women do too. And, women, I'm not sure, all of what y'all do, but, whatever you find, is what you would consider your time of leisure or recreation. Are you spending too much time doing that? You can spend too much time in good things, right? Too much of a vitamin can be harmful to your body. You can spend all the time you want in the Word, but if your family's being neglected, then what you have is imbalance. For instance, a guy who became a Christian after seeing Passion of the Christ. His father was a Pentecostal minister. So was his mother. But he was an atheist. Why? He said that the ministry took up all their time and they had no time for him. So they had imbalance in their life. And it was detrimental to their son. So I encourage you just to find balance in your life. Balance with family, balance, in having time alone, away from the family, to reflect and to think on even what I'm talking to you about right now. So I just want y'all to know I love y'all, as the Lord is dealing with me in things. Just got a little dark. I'm in the shade in a cloudy day today, but it's nice out here. Just be encouraged. Tomorrow is not promised. Yesterday is gone. So find the balance in today, and let the Lord direct and guide your steps, and to make you into the person He wants you to be. You single folks out there who aren't married yet, let Him cause you, to be secure in who you are, so that when you come into the marriage, you don't come in with a lot of baggage and a lot of past issues and things that have been a hindrance to past relationships. But let Him make you who He wants you to be, so that you can be a benefit to the other person's life, right? Rather than, a drawback. You can add happiness and add to their life, and even add balance to their lives. That's so important. So many, like I said, going back to the marriage thing, which is, the closest relationship to Christ in the church. So many people get married for all the wrong reasons, for sex, because he or she looks good, because they have money. But look at the person overall. This person has good looks, but they're arrogant. They have money, conceited, and puffed up, and in their abundance. So listen, I love y'all. Just wanted to post this real quick. Gary, get back into this job. But listen, find the balance, love the Lord, walk in His commandments, and be blessed.